the blueprint they don't want you to see. That's what we're talking about today because the national media has painted a picture of the Dallas Mavericks in a state of absolute shock. The narrative you've heard, the one being repeated on every network, is defined by what many have called one of the most lopsided trades in NBA history, the departure of Luka Dončić. It's a narrative constructed around perceived chaos, on a questionable return, and on the immense franchise-altering pressure now squarely on the shoulders of the front office. It's a simple, dramatic, and frankly lazy take, but what if that move represents not a reaction, but a catalyst? What if it wasn't a panic button? What if instead it was the first, most painful, and most necessary step in a radical and calculated teardown of a flawed foundation? Because when you stop listening to the noise and start analyzing the moves the Mavericks made after the trade, a clear, albeit controversial blueprint for a completely new identity emerges from the fog. This isn't a story of a team in disarray. It's the story of a high-risk, high-reward pivot. It's the story of a franchise that looked at its 17th ranked offense and its 21st ranked defense and possessed the conviction to declare this is not a championship formula. They chose a new path, a path paved with defensive grit and offensive diversity. To understand this blueprint, you first have to throw out everything you thought you knew about the Mavericks offense because the front office certainly did. So how do you replace a generational offensive talent? The consensus national opinion suggests you can't. They're stuck on the idea of a one-for-one replacement. But the Mavericks front office is playing chess, not checkers. They immediately address the offensive void, not with a single player, but with a strategic overhaul of both personnel and philosophy. They recognize that the heliocentric system, for all its individual brilliance, had plateaued, finishing as a middling 17th in offensive rating last season with a score of 114.8. That's just not elite, and the goal here is a championship, not just a highlight reel. The plan, therefore, wasn't to find the next Luka. It was to build an offense that was less predictable, more resilient, and empowered a wider range of players. The first move in this reinvention was the acquisition of Klay Thompson. This wasn't just about adding a veteran scorer. It was a targeted strike to acquire elite, championship-proven floor spacing. Consider the strategic impact of Klay's gravitational pull on a defense. You can't leave him. His presence alone warps the court, creating wide-open driving lanes for players who can attack the basket and punishing any defense that dares to collapse in the paint. He is the ultimate off-ball threat, a player who doesn't need the ball in his hands to be a lethal weapon. This move signals a fundamental shift away from an offense that relied on one player to break down the defense and towards one that uses system and structure to create advantages. But floor spacing alone isn't enough. You still need creation. That's where the signing of D'Angelo Russell on an incredibly efficient 2-year deal comes in. Russell provides a necessary secondary playmaker and a skilled pick-and-roll ball handler. This ensures that the offense has multiple creation points on the floor at all times. It's a direct answer to the predictability that plagued the Mavericks in the past. Even more critically, this move provides an essential safety net for the team while Kyrie Irving recovers from his devastating ACL injury. With Kyrie expected to be out until at least January 2026, the team couldn't afford to just tread water. Russell gives them a legitimate starting caliber point guard who can run the offense and keep the team competitive. The final piece of this offensive puzzle is the one that's flying completely under the radar, the coaching staff overhaul. Bringing in Jay Triano as the new offensive lead and Mike Penberthy for skill work is a massive signal of intent. Triano is known for implementing structured, movement-based offensive systems that don't rely on one player's improvisation. He's the architect tasked with building the new offensive framework, while Penberthy is there to sharpen the tools of every player on the roster. This new structure is engineered to weather the storm of Kyrie's absence by providing a stable, reliable offensive framework rather than asking one person to produce magic every night. The strategy is crystal clear. Replace the production of one superstar with a multifaceted attack that is harder to scout, harder to defend, and empowers everyone on the court. But creating a more diverse offense was only half the battle. The team's biggest weakness wasn't putting up points, it was stopping them. And the moves they made to build a defensive wall are even more dramatic. Let's be candid for a minute. For years, the Mavericks' true Achilles heel, the thing that kept this team from being a legitimate contender, wasn't offense, it was defense. Last season, they were ranked 21st in the league with a defensive rating of 116.0. You simply cannot win a championship with a bottom 10 defense. The front office knew this, and they didn't just patch the holes, they attacked the problem with surgical precision and massive resources, signaling a complete philosophical shift for the franchise. This team is no longer trying to outscore you, it's being built to stop you. The absolute cornerstone of this new identity is Anthony Davis. Acquiring a player of his caliber, an 8-time all-defensive team member, and an elite rim protector in the Dončić trade is the move that makes this entire strategy possible. For years, Dallas has been vulnerable in the paint, lacking a truly dominant interior defensive presence. Davis's arrival instantly and completely transforms that weakness into a strength. He is a one-man defensive system, capable of erasing mistakes at the rim, switching on to smaller players on the perimeter, and communicating as the anchor of the entire defense. He provides an immediate and intimidating presence that will change the way teams attack the Mavericks. But a weapon is only as good as the person wielding it. That's why hiring Frank Vogel as the lead defensive coach is an absolute masterstroke. You are now pairing one of the league's most respected and proven defensive minds with one of its most elite and versatile defensive talents. Vogel built a championship defense in Los Angeles with Davis as his centerpiece. That synergy, that pre-existing trust and understanding is invaluable. It creates an instant identity for the entire team to rally around from day one of training camp. There is no ambiguity about what this team's priority is. It's written in bold letters. They will be a tough, disciplined, defensive-minded team. This defensive-first approach perfectly complements the offensive strategy we just talked about. A team built with elite floor spacing from a player like Klay Thompson is now backed by an elite rim protector in Anthony Davis. This is the blueprint for modern, balanced, two-way roster construction. The health updates only reinforce this newfound strength. With both Anthony Davis and Derek Lively II expected to be fully ready for training camp, the Mavericks suddenly boast a formidable and deep defensive front court. Imagine the rotations: a healthy Davis and a developing Lively, a sophomore who showed incredible defensive instincts last season, can provide 48 minutes of high-level rim protection. That's a luxury this franchise has never had. Winning the draft lottery was a stroke of luck, but using that #1 pick on Cooper Flagg was a strategic masterstroke, doubling down on this new defensive-first philosophy and securing the future of the fortress. With the offensive and defensive cornerstones in place, the entire success of this audacious gamble hinges on one final piece: an 18-year-old rookie tasked with bridging the gap between the present and the future. The national media loves a simple narrative, and their story for Cooper Flagg is that he's an 18-year-old kid with the weight of a franchise on his shoulders. They're obsessing over the immense pressure on him to be an immediate offensive savior for a team that just traded its superstar. But that narrative is a fundamental misreading of the Mavericks roster and their entire strategy. The front office didn't draft Flagg to be the next Luka. They drafted him to be the first Cooper Flagg, the ultimate high-ceiling connector who perfectly embodies the team's new two-way identity. From day one, Flagg's primary role isn't to carry the offense, it's to break the other team's offense. His defensive versatility and incredibly high basketball IQ make him the perfect chess piece for Frank Vogel's new scheme. Imagine the defensive lineups Vogel can now deploy. You have Flagg, a 6'9" wing with elite shot-blocking instincts and the lateral quickness to guard multiple positions, creating havoc on the perimeter. Then you have Anthony Davis anchoring the paint behind him. That is a defensive nightmare for opposing teams. Flagg's ability to generate steals and deflections, to act as a weak-side rim protector, and to seamlessly switch across positions makes him the ideal running mate for Davis. He is the glue that will hold the defensive fortress together. His selection represents the brilliant long-term vision of the Dončić trade. By moving on from a supermax contract, the Mavericks acquired an elite veteran in Davis and simultaneously created the opportunity to draft a foundational talent like Flagg on a cost-controlled rookie contract. This gives the team immense financial and roster flexibility for the next 4 years. He is the personification of the franchise's radical new blueprint, a defensive-minded, high IQ player who fits the new identity perfectly and gives the team a path to sustainable, long-term contention. This narrative, however, that he's being pressured to be a primary creator, fundamentally ignores the other strategic pieces on the board. The presence of a veteran point guard like D'Angelo Russell, the eventual return of a healthy Kyrie Irving, and the elite floor spacing provided by Klay Thompson is all specifically designed to insulate Flagg offensively. He won't be asked to run 30 pick-and-rolls a game. He will be allowed to develop at his own pace, to find his points in transition, as a cutter, and on spot-up opportunities created by others. His offensive game will grow, but it doesn't need to be the focal point on day one. His selection at #1 wasn't just about taking the best player available. It was about selecting the player who best ties the entire strategy together, a defensive anchor for today, and a potential two-way superstar for tomorrow. He makes the high-risk trade for Davis a calculated bet on a brand new and much higher ceiling, a new offense, a defensive fortress, and a phenom at the center of it all. The pieces are on the board. So when you step back and you connect the dots, the picture becomes clear. When you look past the initial shock, from the complete overhaul of the coaching staff to the targeted veteran acquisitions and the drafting of a generational defensive prospect, the chaos of the Dončić trade transforms into a cohesive, albeit audacious strategy. This wasn't a panic move. It was a pivot. It was a calculated demolition and a meticulous reconstruction designed with a singular purpose in mind. The front office identified the core weaknesses of the previous era and addressed them head-on. They replaced a singular, ball-dominant offensive force with a balanced roster built on clearly defined pillars: elite, versatile defense anchored by Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, and Frank Vogel, and a multi-option movement-based offense orchestrated by Jay Triano and featuring the firepower of Klay Thompson and D'Angelo Russell. While the national narrative is still stuck on the shock of losing a superstar, the real and far more interesting story is the construction of a team specifically designed to fix the flaws, that 17th ranked offense and 21st ranked defense that held the previous iteration of the Mavericks back from true championship contention. Let's be clear, this isn't a team that's necessarily built to win 50 games tomorrow. The projections have them around 40 wins, and that's a realistic starting point. But this is now a team built with a clear and sustainable identity, and I believe a much higher long-term ceiling. This is a team that won't be solely dependent on the brilliant but often singular magic of the past. The Dallas Mavericks have made their wager. It's a bold one, and it's one that will be scrutinized at every turn. They are betting that a fortress built on defense, versatility, and balanced offense is a more reliable and sustainable path to raising another championship banner in Dallas. They've shown us the blueprint. Now we get to watch them build it. But that's my analysis. Now I want to hear yours. Let us know in the comments what you believe the ceiling is for this new Mavericks team.